Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. And moving on now, keeping children safe at school. It's a priority we can all get behind, no matter where you stand on guns and gun control. And as we search for answers, we're joined by board-certified clinical psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Gardere and the founder of Nashville-based Haven Lockdown, Alex Bertelli. Thank you so much for joining us. Alex, I want to start with you. Your company is based in Nashville. How is the Nashville community holding up? I know that there was a vigil last night. I know that obviously prayer and faith is very important to folks. Talk to us about what's happening right now.
Yeah, I think we've got to keep those families in our hearts and minds. It's a very difficult time here in Nashville. I was across the street at a dentist appointment shortly before this happened, and this can happen anywhere in America. And I think schools, administrators have become complacent. But I think we do need to recognize that in this particular situation, there were security practices implemented, and the real heroes of the day there were those teachers who kept their students safe, as well as the police officers who went in to take out the assailant. Just a very rough day overall past few days in Nashville. I
know. It's, back when we were in school, we had fire drills, and now kids have active shooter drills. Audrey Hale was voluntarily being treated for an emotional disorder, and the New York Post now reporting that Hale had a collection of disturbing illustrations referencing The Shining and murder. Dr. Gardere, we're learning more about the shooter's background. Do you think there were red flags that were missed here?
There are always red flags that are missed. The problem with our mental health system is that there are holes in the communication. We're not connected. Part of that has to do with patient confidentiality, of course. The other part of that is that we're just not learning enough from our mistakes about being able to communicate between different agencies, with law enforcement, with what's going on with some of our mental health clinics. And so if we're able to triangulate a little bit more, then we could all be on the same page and assist people who are going through some of these emotional crises.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are wondering, okay, if she was seeing a mental health expert, what was she saying? Because I know that if you say I'm going to harm somebody or harm myself, they have to report it. Maybe she wasn't saying anything, and that medical expert didn't know anything. So, hopefully we'll find out a little bit more, but you're right, that communication, and we do have a mental health crisis here. The shooter reportedly sent a friend several ominous text messages from the school's parking lot, and it took police a while to respond to her. Now, we don't know if that could have stopped anything, and as we see the video of her shooting through those doors, a lot of people talk about school safety and if things are locked and if doors are propped open. It looked like things were obviously locked there. Alex, talk to us about what do schools need to do? I was talking to people yesterday and they said, well, there's just not enough funding. The schools know they need a resource officer, but there's also windows that could be targets. There's doors. What do we need to do to make sure every school is secure?
Well, I think training, technology, and deterrence are the three most important things. You certainly can't stop a bad guy from trying to find a way in to a facility that wasn't meant to be hardened right from construction. And so training and technology are the two things that are the most important. I've been studying this problem for almost 10 years. Certainly someone can shoot through glass, but the entire point of having a hardened facility such as a school or a church comes down to having people who are trained and stopping the bad guy from moving through that facility. These things usually end anywhere from 6 to 12 minutes at first alert. You can see that the Nashville police reacted exactly as they should. They went in, they swept and cleared the facility, they killed the bad guy instantly. Now, what we can't do is build our schools into bank vaults. There's not enough funding, there's not enough attention and focus on it, but we can use cameras and interior locks to slow down the bad guys. And so I think that's the lesson learned here, especially for parents and board administrators and politicians. These schools absolutely need to have SROs. They need to have armed police officers and guards protecting it, but also a focus needs to be put on best practices. Cameras on the exterior, hardened locks on the inside, and certainly training for those students and teachers so they know exactly what to do. And you're right, as a kid, I did 2 tornado drills every month. I lived in Kansas, and now this has become a real part of life here in the United States, and we need to take it seriously.
Yeah, we definitely need to take it seriously. Dr. Gardere, it's really difficult to pinpoint a reoccurring trend with these mass shootings. Unfortunately, we keep talking about them. What do you think the national conversation should be moving forward, and how do we address this mental health crisis?
Well, certainly we know that we do have a mental health crisis. So what we need is more funding, for the mental health clinics and the hospitals, making more beds open for the psychiatric hospitals. But the other thing, and I know there's a lot of controversy with your audience with this, we need to get the assault rifles off the streets. We're not talking about taking away people's guns. I've owned guns. I've been trained in using them as a law enforcement officer from the past. But we have to look at getting more red flag laws, raising the ages that people are getting these guns. They're looking at lowering them in Tennessee, I believe. And again, it's about getting these deadly assault weapons off the streets. That is not making things easier. We have to have a national conversation and not be on separate sides, because this isn't about left or the right. This is about the safety of children and our people in our society.
Yeah, you're right. That national conversation, because everybody agrees something needs to be done, and just that mental health crisis. I know people can't even get an appointment with a therapist. So if you can't even get an appointment with a therapist because they're so booked, what happens if you do need a bed? We need funding. We need a lot more to be done. Alex Bertelli, Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. And still ahead.